Hey, everybody. Hope you're doing awesome. Pastor Kenny here from Home Church. So, listen, we are coming to the end of a series that we have been in called Asking for a Friend, where you guys have been submitting questions and we've been walking through them for the past 2 Sundays. And I want to say thank you. It's been a really, really fun series. You guys have asked some tough questions. You've asked difficult questions about the death penalty. You've asked difficult questions about the end times. There's also been some fun questions about dinosaurs and guardian angels and things like that. And so, but one of the questions that we got asked most often needed just a little bit more explanation and time than we had to give on a Sunday. And so today is a special episode, a special series break, a bonus episode of Asking for a Friend. And so today I want to just take some time and share with you and answer really the most popular question that we had. Actually, it's a series of questions. People have asked a lot about heaven. People have asked a lot about hell. People have asked a lot about what happens to our body and our soul when we die. And so today, I'm just going to take some time and walk through some of this understanding. And real quick, I'm not going to be quoting a ton of scripture. I'm really more just going to be explaining. However, on the screen, I'm going to throw scriptural references there. So you can take a look and take a note and go back and actually read through some of the scripture that kind of like connects to all of this stuff. So we're going to jump in. And so here we go. We're going to talk about heaven and hell. So I think to first gain an understanding of heaven and hell, we have to first go back to what happened to people who died before Jesus came. And so there is a word that maybe you've heard, maybe you haven't heard in Scripture called Sheol. Now, Scripture helps us understand that Sheol is a place where anyone who died before Jesus, their soul went. I want to be really clear. Anytime we die, our body dies, but our soul lives for eternity. And so anyone prior to Jesus coming, when they died, their body would be put in the ground and their soul would go to a place called Sheol. Now, Sheol actually was separated into two different places. Same place, two different kind of areas, so to speak. There is a Sheol, and part of it is for people who did not have faith in Jesus, and that's what we call Hades, or it might be known as Sheol proper. For someone who died before Jesus, who did not have faith in God or have an understanding that Jesus, Messiah, was to come, they would physically die and their soul would live, and it would go down to Sheol in the part of Hades. Now, for those who believed in God, who died before Jesus, this would be people like Abraham, Isaac, Jacob. These are people who died before Jesus came, but they had faith. Their body would be in the ground, but their soul would go down to Sheol as well. But their soul would be housed and held in a different part of Sheol called Abraham's bosom. And so we've got two places in this Sheol that we need to understand. One is Hades. This is where people, their soul would stay before Jesus came, that their soul would remain in a form of torment. And then the other side of Sheol would be Abraham's bosom. This would be a holding place for the soul for those who believed. And because we would have these two places, it would be separated by a chasm. That's going to be important later. But we have Sheol, and it's two places in Sheol: Hades, Abraham's bosom. Those who did not believe in Jesus or believed in God, those who did believe in God. And this was all before Jesus came. And so then we have the moment of the cross where Jesus comes and he dies. And Scripture tells us that Jesus actually went down to Hades. Scripture lets us know that Hades has like a gate-like place. There's a gate there and there's locks on it. And Scripture reminds us that when Jesus died physically, that he actually went down to Sheol, he went down to Hades, and there he proclaimed witness. And he proclaimed witness over death, hell, and the grave to everyone who was in Hades, right? So this is the people who did not believe. It says that he ripped open the gates of Sheol, and it says then he freed the captives. Now what that means is that for those who did not believe, they would remain in Hades. They would remain in Sheol. But those who did believe, Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, David, like the fathers of our faith, and anyone else who believed in God, who were being held in Abraham's bosom, Jesus freed them and actually took them to paradise. Paradise we can connect to heaven. When you hear paradise, you should think heaven. Paradise is also when Jesus is hanging on the cross, he tells the thief, today you will be with me in paradise. And so what we had was Jesus, when he died, came down to Sheol, and he proclaimed himself the Messiah, and he took the captives who already believed in God and took them and freed them and took them to heaven, where now they reside. Now, for those of us who, now after Jesus has been living, Jesus has died, Jesus has resurrected, Jesus has now ascended into heaven. Now there's a different way that this pattern goes when we die. If you and I today, after Jesus has already ascended, if you and I die and you are a believer, you have put your faith in Jesus, then you too, when you die, your body will go into the ground and your soul will go to heaven. You will go to paradise. For those who die right now, who die and do not believe in Jesus, your body also will be put in the ground, but your soul will go down to Sheol. Your soul will go down to Hades. And so here's what we have to understand. This is the way that it's worked prior to Jesus. This is the way that it functions now that Jesus has already come. And so now we need to look forward to when Jesus comes back. What's going to happen with heaven and hell and all that stuff when Jesus comes back?